All right, so welcome to the workshop on what the League can do for you. We thought the best thing would be for us, actually we got volunteered I think, to do a workshop to let you know what we do in the League office. So myself and my staff are here. This is Kadisha. Kadisha's my part-timer. She's in Tuesdays and Wednesdays. She does the screening and the medals, and she's going to give you a little bit of information on what she does. Clover is full-time. She's my assistant, and she'll give you an idea of what she does, and then I'm going to finish up with what I do. But I just want to tell you that the Army Cadet League, a lot of people don't realize this. We're a non-profit charity organization. We don't get any funding from the Department of National Defense. We raise all our funds that manage our office, so all our equipment, all our paper, our salaries and everything is paid out of the funds that we raise. So we raise our own salaries. The only thing that we get provided for us, thank goodness, is our office, which is located at 4900 Yonge Street, just down the hall from the department, from the detachment. So we're in the 4900 was a federal building. It's now privately owned. So we're centrally located on the subway line. So it's a good spot for us, and luckily we get that office through D&D with no rent, or we'd never be able to afford it, believe me. So what we're going to tell you today is a little bit about what we do. We're going to cover some of the stuff like our tag receipts, our tags and tag trays, our tax receipts, kit shop items, insurance, screening of volunteers, cadet medals, and the roles of the support committee and the liaison officers, and our awards and trophies. So, first of all, we're going to have Clover speak to you about what it is she does in the office.
In regards to tags and tag trays, I'm sure everybody has seen these tag boxes. They cost $30, and I'm sorry, they cost $5, and so I just thought I'd increase the price. And the tag trays, the tag boxes are 1,000 tags in a box, and that costs $30. There's a $7 shipping, but it's always good to order in advance, so I don't have to rush out on it. There's shipping, and also when I get an email for how many tags or tag trays I want, appreciate it if you would send me a proper shipping address, because Canpar does not deliver to any PO box, and order in advance. Yeah, that's about what we have for tag trays. Any questions on tags and tag trays that I can answer? Yes?
Do we get metal boxes?
The medals that you order, they come in a box.
Do we get metal, boxes?
Oh, the tin, the collection? No, we don't sell those anymore. We just have the cardboard ones, yeah. We don't sell those anymore. And
Order them separately?
the tag boxes?
Yes, just the coin.
Just the coin? No. No. They come in it's a package deal kind of thing.
Duct tape. Lots of duct tape.
Yes.
Is there a restriction for using just the Army Cadet boxes, or can they use ones that have been made for them? If we were to have something made,
They can use them? Yeah.
they can be used then. Okay.
I haven't heard anybody ask me that.
Questions?
Tax receipts. That's my favorite.
You still do them by bus as well? Ship them?
No,
You don't do that anymore?
I have to send them by Canpar. Canada Post
No, the
doesn't.
bus, we used to get them on the bus and pick them up at the bus station.
Oh no.
You don't do that again,
No. Yeah, the tag receipts, all checks have to be made payable to the Army Cadet League. They have to come to the office. Donation in kind. We cannot issue any tax receipt for donation in kind for use and rental of properties like DJ services and things like that. We cannot issue tax receipt because Canada Revenue will not allow us to do that. any core that has had services with like a DJ or even using of property, pay the amount that that they give you, pay to them and have them donate it back to you, send it to us, and I would issue a tax receipt and send the same amount of amount donated back to the core, and so everybody gets kind of taken care of. The DJ gets his tax receipt, the core gets their money, and everybody's happy with that. If you
Is there a reduction or charge for the tax receipt?
no,
So
we
there's
don't.
no percentage?
No, we don't
reduction or
take-
anything?
no.
So if I send you $1,000, I'm getting.
You're getting
$1,000 back?
$1,000, yeah, and your donor will get 1,000 for. We do not keep any money.
Clover, ask some questions.
Yeah. Any questions on tax receipts? Yep. Do you know how the insurance also works? If anybody knows that we have the cadet insurance?
Just on tax receipts, just to make it very clear, if somebody wants to donate, say, $100 to the poor,
Yes.
they would send the Ontario office
Yes.
a $100 check with a note, would that please go to poor
Yes.
number so-and-so?
Yes.
You would forward the check for $100 to the poor?
Yes.
And give the donor a $100 receipt?
Tax receipt, yes.
I always ask, but if the companies want to do that, I always ask them that they bring the check to us and I send it down to you, and then we have a copy of all that as well.
Yes, yes. Any more questions on tax receipts? Another thing I wanted to talk was about fundraising. When CORES do fundraising, you have a whole list of donors that donates money to your fundraising. Please give receipts to $10 and over. But please, when any CORE sends me the names of the donor, their full address with their name and their postal code is really important because it's easier for me to send it back to them. Any other questions on tax receipts?
You have questions to ask them?
No?
No? Okay.
How about United Way?
United Way donation?
Yeah, all United Way donations have to have the charity, a league charity number on it.
Okay. And
Okay, insurance. Yeah, I should have asked that now. Does anybody know how the insurance works? Cadet insurance? Yes.
If you need insurance for doing a cadet activity, you go to the website, click on the form, fill the form out, and you send it back, and it prints off.
To national. That's for any specific ones.
Yeah.
But the generic one is available on our CD and on our cadet website.
Okay, Judy, you get a gift. We had gifts up here, and we were ready to throw them at you, so we're going to try and get some more gifts out to you as soon as we...
And also the insurance is in effect all year round. DND, as long as DND approves the activity. And as Judy said, any specific insurance has to be done through the national website, and you fill out the form. And how long does it take to come back to you?
Not long, like a couple of days.
Okay.
We use it for tagging, lots of tagging locations.
Okay, because that one I don't do so. Yes.
Which was my exact question. What is the difference between the two? Because I have a major mall that wants the one from the league national office, but Walmart will take the generic one, no problem. What's the difference between the two insurance forms?
Okay. It's not an insurance form. It's proof of insurance. It's a certificate. So a lot of people get confused and they say, send us a copy of the insurance. You don't want that because it's this thick.
Right.
So the proof of insurance, first of all, insurance is there 24 hours all year round. This is just to show the malls or property owners there is insurance in place. The generic insurance certificate just covers the whole year. It'll have the date from the start to the end. It won't have any specific information as of the date of when you're going to do the tagging or anything like that. Some of the malls will want specific information. They will want to see their name there as an added insurer. They may want more insurance, so we'll have to get a specific one. And that's when you go on the National League website and you click on the insurance certificate icon, you fill out the form, and you enter whatever information is required and hit the submit button at the bottom. So that's the difference. The generic one is very generic, and then this one is that you get off the website is very specific
Yeah, I find it's
with
just
dates.
the
And
mall
it'll have the
is
name of the core on it, whereas the generic one will not.
But you're really covered by both.
You're covered by both.
Generic is just a legality so that.
The generic one is a little easier when you're doing taxation. You've got like, 10 or 20 stores.
Yeah.
Then you can photocopy that and you can give it out. And that will satisfy most of the
Yeah.
property owners. Some will not.
Okay.
So you have to check on that.
Okay, I see our volunteer shirts and caps. The caps we have available downstairs rather. They cost $15. The red is the volunteer and the black is the CI. The shirts, $35, and please order them in advance because I have to get them ordered. So, and the same thing, send me a postal address rather than a PO box and the core number, so I know that core has paid. Any other questions for me on tags, insurance, kid shop items?
Just in regard to the kid shop items, the golf shirts, I understand you'll also embroider like names and things like that, and what that might cost.
We haven't embroidered any names on.
Yeah, I don't recall. We might have had patch made up for one of the cores at one of the core number.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the extra cost,
Cost
but I
would
mean,
be.
it's doable. We've just been ordering the regular ones that either say civilian instructor or volunteer. But if somebody does want their core number on it, I don't think it's a problem, and I
Yeah,
don't
we'll
think
do
it would
that.
cost that
Yeah.
much extra, to be honest with you. We can check into it, get a price for you.
Yeah.
Are they an in-stock item? Because I'm trying to push our core into ordering orders and stuff that we have to
No.
order and wait for you to get in.
Wait for them to get in,
Yeah.
except for the hats.
Hats.
We have the
We
hats
have
in
the
stock.
hats, the-
We have them here, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants them, we've got some ready to
Ready
sell.
to sell, yeah.
The shirts have to be ordered because
They
of
have
the
to be
sizes.
embroidered and the sizes. Okay.
Okay, so Kadisha now is going to speak about what she does in the office.
Okay, so I'm Kadisha, and what I do is I take care of all the screening. So if you have anything that has to do with screening, I'm the person you talk to. I'll be in the office on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I'd like to ask a couple of questions. Can anybody tell me the 4 required documents to be submitted for screening?
Your birth certificate, photo, driver's license.
Okay, so
And
ID
a
is
criminal.
one of 2 pieces of identification is one of them. So 2 pieces.
I think you deserve a prize for
ID, and one must be a photo ID.
Government issued photo ID.
Yes. So that could be a driver's license. Thank you. Can anybody tell me another document?
Letter from the league.
No.
Police check. Screening and
Police record
authorization.
check. There's a second part to the police record check.
BSS.
BSS.
Who said that?
And why is the BSS important?
We both did that.
The vulnerable sector screening.
Because it brings up anything that's been pardoned, so we know.
Sex offenders.
Thank you.
We know how to get the answers out of them, don't we?
Very important. Well,
Works
not a
here,
happy
but
face, but
functions.
it's very important.
An important document.
It's very important because we need to know that our children are being taken care of, not by sex offenders, but by people who actually want to look out for your children.
Yeah, well, I was
Okay.
told in another seminar, that's our number 1 priority.
That's your actually this should be up here. Okay,
Safety.
so what's the third documentation?
Letter from the league.
No.
The information form with all your information.
Your picture.
Volunteer registration form.
Who said that?
Picture, Lori.
Me, but I already got it again.
Oh.
I've done all.
Registration. That's why you. And why is that important?
Well, tells the league you want to be a volunteer.
Because we need the volunteers' contact information. That's the main reason why we have that. And what's the fourth?
$20 registration fee, total of
Who said that?
She's already got one.
We prefer a digital photo. Digital photo. And this can have a happy face. And the reason why we do a digital photo is because it's on our files, on our record. We can just email it to National so you can get your ID cards in a more effective and efficient way. Okay? And with regarding, well, I would like to talk to you about police record check. Is there anybody from Toronto? Anyone? Can you give them prizes to them?
Prizes.
The reason why you guys get prizes, we like to soften the blow because you guys usually have to wait at least 12 weeks from Toronto Police to get screened for your police record check. So we'd like for you to bear with us with regarding the screening process from Toronto because it takes that long. And police record checks, after they're screened and processed by Toronto Police, then the police record check is sent back to that volunteer. So please, when you're screening your volunteers from Toronto, make sure you let them know that their police record check will be sent back to them, and then it's their responsibility to send it to us. Okay? I also have a couple of suggestions when it comes to creating your volunteer registration forms and your screening documents. Create a tracking system. We have a tracking system at our office, and I can pass this around. And basically, what is it? It's a check sheet. So you check off once you receive your documents.
Patches coming out outdated. Can you renew it?
Yeah.
You have to do all the same thing all over again?
When you're renewing your registration, your police record check, basically all you just do is get your police record check, and you don't have to. If you moved or anything, you probably want to indicate that to us and inform us.
Say, because my badge is coming out.
So when you want to renew, all you can just do is just submit your police record check, and we'll just issue another ID, providing that we have your photo on file. If we don't, then you need to submit a new photo.
We have a problem with the detachment down in the city of Forth Lakes because a lot of the OPP detachments down there have their own forms. And when we go to hand in ours or to get the forms filled out, they're telling us that we have to send it to you, have a signature on there to verify, yes, we are volunteers.
We have our own forms too that we do send to OPP.
I downloaded that, I took it into the OPP station, and I got told it's valid.
We still have to sign it. We have to sign it, and we have to send it to them actually.
We have an agreement with the OPP, and we get it free of charge, that it goes to their headquarters. So yeah, we have a form on file. So if anyone is a volunteer under OPP jurisdiction, the form has to go through our office. We send it to the headquarters, and then they send us back. So
yeah, because the problem I was having is that every time I go into the detachment, the clerk that's behind the counter doesn't recognize that form. And she's going, no, well, that's the wrong form. This is the form you need. And they're handing me the OPP forms rather than the one that we have through the league.
Oh, okay.
And we're getting that controversy there because I go, well, I'm a volunteer with the Army Cadet League.
Okay, I know what's happening. It's because you're going to your local detachment.
Yeah.
What you need to do, the headquarters, we have the agreement with headquarters, not with all the detachments under OPP. So it has to go to headquarters. So we have a form from the headquarters, so we can send you out the forms, send them back to us, we'll send them to the headquarters and get them.
That was my main problem.
And that'd be a lot easier, and it's not, and it doesn't cost anything either.
That was my main problem because a lot of it, I wanted to get my ID and all that stuff around. But because every time I went up to the clerk, they'd hand me a different form and then show them the one that I had. And they said, oh, that's null and void. This is the one you need.
Yeah.
It is, well, totally confusing.
Okay, well.
The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing.
I guess that's what's happening.
I'll straighten that out when I go to work.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
In Toronto, we had a letter that we took with us when we went down to Forty College. Is that still available?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we just call the office and send us one.
Yep, Kadisha's got that on file. She can email it to you or send it to you through the mail. And it's a letter of introduction, more or less, to say, yes, I'm a volunteer. I think the gentleman over here you kept saying, the letter from the league, yes. So that's what you're referring to.
How long is a police check valid for? Is it within 30 days or 60 days of applying to be a
5
volunteer?
years. And then you have to renew it. That's when
No,
you
but
submit your.
for a person getting you as a volunteer for a uniform, if they've got a police check that's 2 years old, are you able to accept that, or do you want something within 30 days?
It's still valid. It's still valid.
It's
up
still
to the
valid.
5
We would
years.
prefer a fresh one,
Yeah.
but we have been able to get by with that. Yes?
The police record checks that you're getting that come from other organizations specifically list that organization on them. So if I get one done from Ridley College, the police records check said this police record check was done for Ridley College. So you may, if you're willing to accept that it was done for somebody else. Yeah, sure.
As long as it has the vulnerable sector screening on there. That's the most important part of the police record check.
I have found when I've taken a police record check, and I'm a retired, in civilian life, I'm a retired high school teacher. When I went to a board where I had not worked before, they will take a police record check from another organization as long as it's within the last 6 months. So it'll save you $30 fee.
And time too. Yeah. Okay. I also have a couple of another suggestion with regarding police record check. Send in your receipt so you can get reimbursed by the league. Okay. And also, I would like for you to submit your interview sheets when you interview the volunteers. It looks like this. I don't know if everybody has seen something like this. I'll pass it around. So please submit that so that we know that you guys are interviewing the volunteers. And also, when you're submitting your documents, try to submit all 4 documents at once so that we know. It helps with tracking, so that when you call me and you say, hey, what happened to this document, I'll know. And when you're sending your documents, just send me a quick email to let me know that they're on their way so that I can look out for them. Okay, with regarding exemptions, does anybody know what happens when there's a volunteer and say he had a DUI in, say, 1995 when he was 18 years old? Do you know what happens at the league when that happens? Does anybody know? Okay, so what happens?
So nobody gets a gift.
No, we did one for a guy, and just resubmitted it, and you passed it. You know, the police allowed it, and he's back on. He's on strength now. You know, he was in the artillery prior, but he was. You probably remember him anyway.
Yeah. Don't say his name.
I'm not going to say his name, no.
Kadisha's going to tell. We probably applied for an exemption, and she's going to tell you how that happens. Yeah.
No, the exemption is a special case. We don't do it for everybody. So if he's a sex offender, no, or he or she, sorry, we're not going to be biased. But if the individual is a sex offender, then no, that's automatically no. But if it's a DUI, say the person was 18 years old, kind of reckless, and and it was years ago, and he's now 55 or she's now 55, and she's a teacher or upstanding citizen, then what we do is we have them send in 2 letters of recommendation. One must be from the commanding officer.
Photographs as well.
Yeah, pardon?
And the photographs as well.
Yes. So 2 letters of recommendation. One must be from the commanding officer, and one must be from a non-family member that can vouch for that person, who knows that person well. Okay? I'm going to talk to you about the new league policies and the new changes that happens regarding screening.
Just before you leave that, just to finish off with that exemption, tell them where it goes and how the process.
Sorry. Okay, so the process is, what happens is the board reviews the letters and the volunteers' documents, and then we send it off to national so that they review it. So they approve it once they review it, or they have the right to either reject it or approve it.
So basically, if we get a police record check that has anything on it whatsoever, it's stopped until we decide, or whether we contact the person and said, okay, looking at your police record check, we see you did this and this. you can apply for an exemption, or if it's a charge such as a sexual in nature, or it's a weapons charge, or a crime of violence, that's the end of the game. We can't get an exemption for that person, but other lesser charges, if we get the proper letters, as Kadisha says, goes to national, and they make a decision. They make the final decision on whether this person can be cleared and successfully screened or not.
Can I just touch on something that happened at one of the cores? We have a person who's employed full-time by DND, wants to sit on our committee, went to have his police check done. He's French-Canadian. The person doing his police check entered his name, I guess the way it shows on his birth certificate, which they enter, I guess the name's differently there in Quebec. And he came up as an alert, I guess you could say. So he was flagged, and he then had to go and have fingerprints done by RCMP, and it has held his process up forever.
That's the policy that has changed. That where now the policy is if the person's gender and birth date matches a sex offender, it doesn't matter. They're going to want the fingerprints, and that's going to take a longer process.
So they don't even have to have the same name now. It's basically just gender and birth date. And then
it goes on a point system, I understand.
And we will reimburse any cost for fingerprints, we reimburse it as well.
So if you come across this, Judy, again, just please reassure that volunteer that we're doing everything in our power. Because what we don't want to do is have volunteers saying, well, screw it, I'm out of here, because this is going to take too long. So what we want to do is we want to say to them, listen, we have to do it. This is not our policy, it's the RCMP policy. They just came out with this in June. What we are doing is we have to follow the policy, and we have to make sure that we're doing everything to safeguard the kids, the cadets. And so that's what I usually say. Would you want us to do everything possible to make sure your son or daughter is safe? And they go, yeah. And then we can usually win them over, because it does take time, and I understand that.
Well, this is what's happened in this case, and this person's very understanding. And my question is, because he's an employee of DND, has he not already been screened?
Not necessarily.
Because they don't work with, not every D&D employee works with kids.
I think Ellen has a question.
Quick question. A neighbor of mine, I tried to get them involved in becoming volunteers, and he said he was hesitant. Probably somewhere 1, 2, 3 years ago, he was charged with either theft or passing a bad check. But it was a misunderstanding, and the Crown said, no, we'll drop the charges. But not after he had gone, he'd been charged, photographed and fingerprinted. And he said he'd been told that would prevent him because that's still on the records. So Crown dropped all charges. Would that still be on the records? Would that still prevent a person?
Once we hear the situation, and if it's something as light as that, then
But from the police record check, would it not say for 5 or 6 years, charged on so-and-so?
Say no convictions. Yeah.
Wasn't a pardon, but the Crown said it was wrong. So I can assure the person that can go and get a record check.
Yeah, it should be okay.
It would show up as a charged person, charged, dismissed, or withdrawn.
Yes, exactly.
Would that prevent the leak from?
That's only on CPIP, that wouldn't be on the record check that they would send out.
Oh, I see.
Telephone reference check form is going around.
Okay.
What's that one?
Well, there's a section on the volunteer registration form that has references, and you call those people and you talk to them and you ask them questions about the volunteer to see if they're suitable for your cadets.
Never seen that form.
I think it's on the CD.
It's on the CD.
Yeah.
On the CD? Okay.
And it's on the website too.
Yeah.
It's not on the, well, you can use the registration form, but and then call the volunteers, but that that form that I just give you is like a guideline for you to use to call, when you call them, questions you may want to ask them. It's also on the website, I believe.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, there's also another league policy that has been implemented this year, and it's regarding volunteer distribution of volunteer ID cards, where the years before, we used to just send the ID cards to the support committee chair, and they would distribute the ID cards. But now we decided to send the volunteer ID cards directly to the volunteers, and then we send a copy of their letter, their approval letter, to the support committee chair, the commanding officer, and also to the detachment. Okay?
What do you mean? As a CO, I would prefer that that card goes to the chairperson, so that it's our last check, okay, everything good to go, we're good with this person. It's our last verification versus than just this person all of a sudden showing up with this card. It's our way of knowing whether everything's in good working order. If you send it directly to the person, we have no idea.
The reason why we started sending it directly to the person is because sometimes support committee chairs would, all of a sudden quit, or they would have the ID cards just lying around, and then, we'll get phone calls from the volunteers saying that, where's my ID card? And then we wouldn't know where it has
Or send it to the unit mail.
And this is why we started sending a copy of the letter to the CEO. I'm not sure if you had received any letters.
That's how I know the difference. Colored or black and white, I know it's a copy.
We send a copy of the letter that we send to the volunteer with their card, goes to the commanding officer, the liaison officer support committee. So all three of them are aware that that volunteer has received the card. And Kadisha's quite right. We were sending them to the chair people. And they were going to Florida for a couple of months. And the card was sitting in their mailbox. So we thought, okay, we've got to be able to do this a little better. We've got to get these cards directly to the volunteers. Makes more work on Kadisha, because before she could send out half a dozen cards to one chairperson for a whole cadet corps, now she has to send them individually plus copies of the letter. So it makes her workload harder, but we want to make sure those cards get to the volunteer ASAP.
Now, if a volunteer resigns, what happens to those cards?
They have to have the cards sent back to the league's office.
Who
So
sends the cards?
the support committee chair should obtain the cards and send it back to
Or
us.
the volunteer can send it back themselves.
What if the volunteer kind of disappears, the child is no longer coming? We can't
We
get the
can't
cards.
do anything about
So
that.
can
If they
we as a
disappear.
chairperson cancel, like give you notice that
Give-
you no
yeah.
longer attend?
Oh,
it?
definitely.
Okay.
And tell them about updates.
And usually, say probably every 3 months, I would send either an email or a letter with the list of with the names or a list of your corps that has the names of the volunteers. And what we'd like for you is to send it back to us and let us know who has resigned, who has become CIC officers, or anything of that matter.
changes.
Any changes at all.
I think in speaking to the captain's concern, it doesn't matter whether the person has a card or not. The support committee and the corps can always make a decision. They don't know that an individual is a volunteer, and ask them to resign or whatever. So who sends the card to whom is not, the deal breaker.
Yeah.
And hopefully that decision on whether they wanted them to be a volunteer would be made before it comes to our
Well,
office.
you'd think after going through all of that with
Yeah.
to sending it to Ottawa to get the darn thing made, that
Yeah.
the corps would have made a decision by that point. I think so.
And this
But
is why
there's
this-
always the option, at the corps level, regardless if the volunteer's got a card or not.
We have run into problems where a volunteer just doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And, but the commanding officer does have say on who works with the cadets. So even though somebody is screened, it doesn't mean they're automatically working for the cadets. The commanding officer is the one that says, you are going to be going on this exercise, you're screened, or you're not going to be going. So they can make the final decision on how to utilize those volunteers who have been screened.
And this is why the interview process is so important, so that you can screen out who is, appropriate for what activities. Okay. Is there any other questions regarding screening and?
What about as far as picture quality? Can it be colored, can it be black, white?
It can be colored and it can be black and white. It only has to be clear. Make sure it's clear. Make sure you get the full head and the shoulders. Okay? And I already covered fingerprints. Now I'm going to talk to you about medals with regarding ordering medals for your cadets. There's a
Just click it. Oh, you got that on, that's why.
Just click anywhere else besides the mug.
Yeah, don't click the mugs then.
There you go, now you can. Hit the enter key.
There we go.
Okay, so you can submit the Army Cadet Service Medal application either through email, regular mail, or fax. And also be sure to print clearly the names of the cadets, the date that they enrolled, and as well indicate the shipping address on the bottom of the form. And also have the application signed by the commanding officer and the support committee chair. Very important. The costs for the former or the past cadets as well as replacement medals is $10 each. So if you want to give a medal to a former cadet or if you want to replace a medal, just submit a $10 check or cash.
Does that include the multiple year bars?
Yes.
$10 fee?
No.
No. The bars, the replacement bars, I think those are free.
Yeah. They should come with it if they're entitled to it.
Okay. I also update.
That medal is for 4 years, not 5 years, is that correct?
Yes, 4 years. And then you get a bar on the
For
fifth
the
year.
additional.
Six.
Yeah.
What's the turnaround time for ordering medals?
Turnaround time. If I get a medal, if I get the application, say on the Tuesday, I will have that out by Wednesday. So.
Whenever medals get sent to our corps, they get a covering letter to me as the liaison officer saying that I should
Present.
them. And it also says in the letter to use a particular spiel, these are the words that you should use when you present this medal. I have never, ever seen those words. So when you send me a medal the next time around, could you please send me a copy of the words that I'm supposed to use?
It's just standard. I
know
send
it's
the
a standard, but I
things.
don't know what the standard is.
Pardon, I
He
didn't
wants to
even.
know about like the presentation
what I do, I
letter,
make it
what
up.
you're supposed to say as a liaison officer when you present.
We send the presentation letter out with the medal.
And that goes to the CO.
So you
Oh,
want
the
that
CO,
letter to
okay.
be sent to you as well?
I would like
Okay.
a copy of that letter.
No problem.
Okay.
We can do that.
Okay.
We'll change our method.
I've never seen one.
We're flexible.
None of us have seen
I've
that.
never
I
seen
guess
one.
what we're doing is they're sending with the medal, and we think that the CO is going to hand over the medal and the presentation test, but obviously they're not doing it. So we'll.
I beg to differ.
Oh, okay. We have one CO that does that.
You're at a class by yourself.
Move it along.
I leave Brent here to go, and he's invited to do it.
Okay, so
The one question I had, if the liaison officer cannot attend, or the zone officer, either or can't attend, who else is involved as far as issuing of that medal?
Support committee chair.
Okay.
Anybody within the league?
All right.
But two have to be present.
No.
No.
Mary, maybe next year on the next time you put out a dish, you could put the speed along the dish.
Do we have it on there?
No.
Okay, good idea. We'll add that to our notes. Thank you. Oh, you should get a gift for that.
Give a disc. Give them a copy of the spiel.
okay, so I'm also in charge of the newsletter, and we'd like for you to submit articles for the newsletter. This can be articles pertaining to your corps, pertaining to events, activities, an individual or cadet who has done exceptionally well. Submit any articles. We'd like that for a newsletter. The deadline for submissions of articles, we'd like them to get in by May 1st so we can have the newsletter up for June. And we also distribute December newsletters, so we'd like that deadline to be November 1st. Okay? So, and there's also prizes of newsletters, so usually corps submit their own newsletters to the office, and it's called the Roll Call Prize. So the first prize is $500, and the second prize is $100.
And we don't get very many newsletters, so you got a good chance.
And you can also check out our website. I do the updates on our website, so if there's any changes regarding course, training dates, location, time, address, etc., just send me a quick email and I'll update it on the website. And there's also other websites, the national website and the history website.
Is that local price for the individual who votes or for the court?
For the court. There's two different things. So you can submit articles for our league newsletter, and then you can submit your own core newsletter for the roll call prize.
Okay, who here is a liaison officer? Put up your hand. Quite a few. Do you know what is the most important role that a liaison officer does?
Brings a check.
Visits the course.
Making sure the finances are in order.
You got it. Give him a prize.
Thank you.
In the core,
Pardon?
you have to make sure that the finances are in order.
Yes. Yeah. The whose finances are they? Who does the funds belong to? Y'all get a prize. It's okay. Great answer. Okay, so we want the liaison officers to visit 3 or 4 times a year or as needed. Because if a problem arises in a cadet corps, we want that liaison there to make sure to iron out the situation. They are not a member of the support committee. They're there so that they can help to conflict mediate if there's a problem that arises in the support committee. So that's why we want them separate from that. They are representing the league. We give them business cards. They usually wear a blazer. We want them to present themselves professionally, and also to be sure that they're visible in the cadet corps. So liaison officers, they're the ones that usually are there at the annual, presenting medals, so on, and they're representing the league. Okay, they're working closely with the support committee, so they're going to check on the finances at the cadet corps, and we want more emphasis on this year. We've had some problems in the past with finances. We've got a financial compliance officer now. She's going to do spot audits. So if you have a problem out there with a cadet corps who's not keeping track of their finances properly, you think the treasurer maybe needs a little help on how to do some bookkeeping, not keeping good paper trails, losing receipts, that sort of thing, Roberta Shaw is the person to get in contact, and she will give advice and one-on-one information over the phone, through email, whatever. So we're trying to make sure that we educate people on how to do the finances, because that is one of the most important things that the support committee does, and one of the most important things that they can do for the cadet corps is to make sure those finances are in good order. We want financial statements to come to the office at least once a year, with a bank statement and an updated inventory list. We keep that on file. And that's our method of knowing and making sure and doing our due diligence and making sure that everything is in order and in accordance with CRA, Canada Revenue Agency. If the support committee is stepping down, and usually at the end of the year, some of them are going to be leaving their sons and daughters, because most of our support committees are made up of parents. So if their son and daughter's leaving the cadet corps, a lot of them will leave. Try to keep them on if you can, because we need those volunteers. They're precious. But if that's the case, it's the job of the liaison officer to hold the elections and have a proper election. So that's the duties of the liaison officers, to hold that election. Yes.
What do you do if you can't find bodies?
It is difficult.
I have a treasurer that, like, he wants to leave.
Yeah.
He's agreed to stay on to like the end of the calendar year to help someone get going in the fall, but he really doesn't want to be there anymore, and
I don't have a quick answer for you. I wish I did. Yeah.
have a treasurer.
You have to just keep asking the parents. Sometimes your sponsor, the Legion, is a good place to start too. See if there's anybody that can fill in or help out. You just have to try and beat the bushes.
Go to your bank.
What about
Thanks.
getting back to the elections? How many times should an election be held? Should it be held once a year, every 2 years?
I think on an ad, like, I guess every 2 years is usually what we say is their term, but I know that elections are held yearly at some of the support committees because people are just leaving. So it's whatever time frame the support committee has decided upon themselves their term of office, or on an as-needs basis if somebody has to move or what have you. Yes. Oh.
How are the liaison officers appointed?
Sometimes they come up through the ranks from the support committee. Sometimes it's just, we even ask the commanding officers, do you know anybody who wants to be a liaison officer, or anybody that, from the community that is interested? We do whatever we can to get liaison officers to represent the league. So some are.
Some have gone through the Legion aspect too.
Yes.
That volunteer through that.
Yes.
You had mentioned the liaison officer, one of their jobs is to check the inventory list.
Yes.
Which inventory?
Oh, good point. I'm glad you said that. There's D&D equipment, as we all know, and then there's equipment that is purchased through sponsors' money, or the support committee raises the funds, and that's equipment. That's optional equipment. It's not on the DA, so that means it's not D&D equipment. So tents or anything that's been purchased for the Corps, that's band instruments is a good one. That kind of equipment. That's the equipment that the support committee must keep track of, because D&D is not keeping track of it. Now, it's often stored where the D&D equipment is in a locked storage. So oftentimes, the support committee has to ask an officer to go with them to check on the equipment and keep track of it. Yes, Sandra?
Yeah, and the other issue is that if something happens and unfortunately the court is either relocated or has to close, if there is not an inventory of that equipment, D&D will assume that anything in the storage is theirs.
Yeah,
And-
good point.
And it belongs to the cadets in the community. It
Yeah.
doesn't belong to D&D.
So that's why it's so
Once
important.
they take it, it's real hard to
What
get
we
back.
do is put a list behind the door of the cadet corps that own the D&D separate.
Yeah.
And then we know what's our property when we go in.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
Yeah.
Give Art a call. Oh. Who knows what a zone liaison officer does?
Thank you.
Does anybody know? Is there a zone liaison officer in the room? Dan? Barry? Okay, so zone liaison officer is there to back up the Corps liaison officer. So if the Corps liaison officer can't resolve an issue or is having a problem, or maybe is going to be away for a period of time, or leaves, the zone liaison officer's job is to step in and assist or take that person's place for that time being until a new one can be found. So that's what the zone liaison officer is for. There should be a good working relationship between the two. If the situation can't be resolved at the Corps with the liaison officer or the zone liaison officer, it usually comes up to me, and it's either myself or the board of directors, someone in the board, to come out, maybe have a meeting and try to resolve the situation. What I would say is, do not let something fester. Do not leave it be. Nip it in the bud. Try to get things resolved as quickly as possible, and that is the better way of doing it than letting it sit.
I was talking to someone at 285 about 3 weeks ago, and he says they're starting to allow the overseas trips again, like Bermuda and all that. We can start taking the kids back again.
Yeah, they recreational trips.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, that is something that they can do.
And,
They have to raise their own money.
The other thing we started, we boarding cadets for promotion now. He has 4 of us, and any cadets that want promotion, we have to board them, fill out a form, each one of us, and see how the kids respond to the tests and the questions are asked them, and then we decide which one gets promoted.
Oh.
Those are merit review boards. It's a merit review board, and it's held for every promotion to the rank of Master Ward or Chief Ward. And there's a process designed for that. What the unit may do is the unit may ask the liaison officer, the zone liaison person, or a member from the sport committee to sit on that board to represent that part of the house.
It works very well.
Yeah, good. Glad to hear that. Support committees. Who here is from a support committee? Hands up. Oh, quite a few. Great. Okay, so what is the most important function of the support committee? Financial, fundraising, yes. All, yeah, all good answers. Yes? 5 minutes? Oh, you're my timekeeper. Oh my goodness. I thought you were here because you wanted to be here. We have sample bylaws on the CD for the support committee, so please, be aware of that. That will help you guide you through. We have the support committee guideline that's always updated too, so pay attention to that. As I said before, financial statements have to be submitted once a year at least. Spot audits. Roberta is our financial compliance officer, and she's going to help you out if there's a cadet corps that needs some help. If there's a treasurer, she's already done a few for us, and she's done at least one audit. Local support allocation. Does everybody know what that is about? Okay, everybody's saying yes. Okay, so how the support committee can help with the LSA is to be able to save those receipts so that the commanding officer, when it comes time to submit, and they get $600 per corps, plus I think it's $15 per cadet, isn't it, based on their quota, per year. So it is money that they can get back for expenses that they have put out. And there's a criteria for doing it, like certain things that are allowable and not allowable, and a method of doing it. But we have found, and I don't know how's it going with you, Perry, in London, are you getting, are people expending their money? This March 31st has passed.
If I hold a gun to someone's heads and threaten their lives, yes, they send it in. It's to the point now where there's, on average, for a small unit of 30 cadets, you have 1,050 units that belongs to the support committee. I'm going to hold on to that money until you supply me with $1,050 in receipts. And it doesn't all have to be at once. You can do it twice during the year. It's going to go down to the finance clerk. The finance clerk is going to verify it. The finance clerk is going to sign off on it. Within 30 days, you've got your money back.
Okay, so it's really important, keep on the CO, make sure they're putting in those local support allocations, because obviously not all of them are doing it, and that is a shame.
What's the deadline for this?
Well, they should put it in at least March. End of March is the final deadline.
From a detachment point of view, what we'd like to see is that you submitted it yesterday for this fiscal year. This fiscal year runs April 1st to March 31st. As of yesterday, you can start submitting.
Okay. Now, one last thing. The support committee is not a parent complaint bureau. That's the most important point. You're not there to receive parent complaints. The commanding, that should be in writing, go to the command, it should be given to the commanding officer, but do not take that on yourself. We have some recruiting materials, ads, and videos that are on the CD. That you can download, and that you can. We've had people that have taken it to their police station and have gotten airtime, free airtime to promote their cadet corps. Poppy funds are now 20%. If you can go to your Legion and say if they have any leftover Poppy funds for the cadet corps, you can apply for it. It's not a given, but because it's going to be shared with other corps perhaps, or they may not have any leftover funds, so it has to be applied for.
The fictitious date does not refer to a